All right, let's dive into this. Welcome back, Study Buddy, to another explainer for our Python study group. We are taking a massive leap forward today. If you've been following along, we've basically been laying down the foundational building blocks of Python. But today we're moving from basic syntax and raw calculation straight into the beating heart of real business logic. This is exactly where Python stops being just a fancy calculator and actually becomes a true decision-making engine. We're jumping right into Lesson 3, focusing on comparison operators, and we're going to unpack this incredible introduction from Coach Timothy.
Right off the bat, Coach Timothy hits us with this absolutely foundational thesis. Businesses don't make decisions based on numbers alone, they make decisions based on comparisons. I just love this framing, right? Because it immediately shifts our whole perspective. As data professionals, developers, it is so easy to get lost in the raw numbers. But numbers in a vacuum, they don't actually tell you what to do next. Comparisons do. And that is the exact mindset we're going to adopt as we work through today's material.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. From numbers to decisions. 2. The business question mindset. 3. What we will cover. And 4. The notebook challenge. Let's get into it.
From numbers to decisions.
To get you ready for the coding ahead, we're going to use a super simple framework: observe, think, code. Right now, we're in the observe phase. So in Lesson 2, we spent a ton of time on arithmetic operators. The tools Python uses to add, subtract, multiply. Basically raw calculations. And yeah, calculations are totally essential. But let's observe what happens when we stop at just the calculation. Take this number, 250,000 naira. Let's say you're building software for a bank. You pull a customer's account balance and boom, it's 250,000 naira. That's informative, sure. It is a calculated piece of data. But standing completely on its own, it's not actionable. You literally cannot make a business decision based purely on the existence of that number. And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept of today's explainer. Look at the sharp contrast here. We've got a static 250K balance, but then we place that balance against a strict requirement. Is the balance greater than a 300K loan request? Suddenly, the data comes alive. Actionable business value really only begins when we compare that raw balance against a threshold. If it's less, the loan is denied. If it's more, it's approved. It's the comparison that actually drives the action.
Let's observe one more example to really cement this idea. We've got another raw piece of data here, the number 68. Imagine you're working on an education platform, and an algorithm calculates a student's final grade to be 68. Just like that bank balance, this is merely a calculation. The system itself has no idea what 68 actually means for the student's future.
But watch what happens when we introduce a comparison. We contrast that raw score of 68 against a defined pass mark of 50 by asking, is the score greater than 50? We completely empower the software to make a decision. The system can now automatically issue a passing certificate or, prompt the student to retake the class. It transforms raw data into a totally actionable outcome.
Section 2. The business question mindset.
All right, welcome to the think phase of our framework. Coach Timothy specifically asks us, as a study group, to approach this lesson entirely differently than we might have approached basic math. We need a fundamental shift in how we view Python's operators from here on out. Really try to stop thinking of comparison operators as just boring math symbols like a greater than sign or an equal sign. Instead, think of them as the actual language Python uses to ask questions, evaluate conditions, and make real decisions. Literally every intelligent application you use, from booking a flight to AI recommendation engines, relies on these operators asking questions behind the scenes.
So the absolutely crucial point is this. Whenever you write or read a comparison in Python, take a little Socratic pause. Ask yourself Coach Timothy's critical questions. Number 1, what question is the program actually asking? Number 2, what business rule is being enforced by that question? And finally, what should the software do if the answer is true, and what should it do if the answer is false? Developing this specific mindset, that is exactly what separates a beginner who just types out code from a true professional who builds solutions.
Section 3. What we will cover. Let's move over to the code phase of our preparation and see how this builds out the technical groundwork that the study group is going to tackle. And man, there is a rich curriculum ahead in this lesson. You and your study buddies are going to explore the 6 core comparison operators. You'll learn how Python actually evaluates these conditions to output Boolean values, those essential true and false answers. You'll get into the nuances of string comparisons, which, heads up, are case-sensitive. You'll even learn how to write super elegant chained comparisons for range validation, how to avoid common beginner mistakes, and you're going to put it all into practice with real-world simulations. It is a packed, totally hands-on module. But remember,
As Coach Timothy emphasizes, you are not learning alone. The Python study group is built entirely on collaboration. As you go through the coding exercises, you need to follow these 4 steps. First, predict the result of the code before you even run it. Second, discuss your reasoning with your buddies. Third, explain the concepts out loud, because let's be real, teaching completely deepens your own understanding. And finally, help classmates who are struggling. This collaborative process is exactly how professional developers work in the real world.
Section 4, the Notebook Challenge.
Now, before you even write your very first line of code for Lesson 3, Coach Timothy has a specific, highly actionable challenge for you to ensure you're immediately applying this framework. Here is the challenge. Keep a notebook. It can be digital, it can be physical, whatever works for you. But as you learn each new operator in this lesson, I want you to write down at least 3 real-world scenarios where it could be used. Don't just type out the code syntax, actually write down the business application. By doing this, you're actively building your own personalized reference library of practical Python applications that you're going to rely on long after this study group is over.
To give you a bit of a head start, consider these huge industry applications. In banking, for instance, you might use comparisons for fraud detection, like, is this transaction suspiciously larger than usual? In healthcare, you could absolutely apply it to payroll or even medication dosages. Over in retail, it's essential for inventory management. Has our stock fallen below the minimum reorder point? And in education, just like we saw earlier, it's used for student grading. The applications are literally endless.
So the table is officially set. The mindset is established. But hey, this is just the beginning. Mastering these comparison operators is the crucial stepping stone before Lesson 4, where we're going to introduce logical operators, things like and, or, and not, to build even more complex, highly intelligent decision-making systems. But my question to you right now is this. Are you ready to master one comparison at a time? Grab that notebook, connect with your study buddies, and let's dive right into Lesson 3.